Bharat Ramamurti is the Deputy Director of the White House National Economic Council. In this conversation with Lalit K. Jha, he discusses the state of the US economy. This is a New India Abroad video.
Thank you, Bharat. Thanks a lot for doing this with us. I'd love to start with today's thing, your state of US economy, and President Biden announced today the Invest in America plan.
We got news today that inflation is continuing to come down. We've now seen 8 straight months of declining inflation, which is good news for the American consumer, good news for American families, good news for the American economy. At the same time, we continue to see very robust job growth, hundreds of thousands of jobs created over each of the last few months, over 12 million jobs created since the president took office. So we have a good combination of declining inflation and continued job growth.
About the president's Invest in America plan, if you'd like to say something.
Yeah, so over the last 2 years, the president has gotten through Congress a number of big investment measures. An infrastructure bill, a bill investing in semiconductors and chips, and an Inflation Reduction Act, which makes huge investments in clean energy technology. All of those combined have resulted in over $400 billion worth of private investment coming into the United States over the last 2 years, a sharp increase from the years before that. And lots of good jobs created across the country. The president was in North Carolina earlier this week to talk about a new production facility that was being built there. $20 billion invested in Ohio, outside of Columbus, for new semiconductors by Intel. Micron is investing $100 billion in New York in new production there. So these are good paying jobs, jobs that don't necessarily require a college degree, and jobs that can support a family, and at the same time protecting our financial security, our economic security, and our national security.
As you know, because of the situation in China and the theft of intellectual property, large number of foreign companies are trying to move out of China. And many of them, for them, the US is the prime destination. What is the message to those companies, and what are the other incentives that the administration is offering to them to bring them in large numbers?
Well, we've tried to make America a good place to invest for those types of companies that have a choice in terms of where to put their money. We're offering not only the best trained workforce in the world, a highly reliable legal system, and now we're offering strong incentives to locate production in the United States. And so it's not just about jobs. The president has made clear that it reduces our vulnerability. We saw during the pandemic that when you rely on products that are made either in China or in Southeast Asia or elsewhere, if you have a disruption in that country, or you have disruptions to international shipping, all of a sudden we can't make the products that we need to make because we're missing some of the key inputs that were supposed to be delivered from abroad. Or maybe the costs go up tremendously because of disruptions abroad, reducing the supply. The president wants our supply chains to start and end here in the United States, and the types of investment we've seen over the last several months are moving us closer to that reality.
Yesterday I was talking to one of the VCs from California, an Indian American, and he was saying there's a lot of regulation has started coming up. It's becoming very difficult for them to even open a company in California. Huge amount of paperwork to be done. In that circumstances, why do you think foreign companies would like to come here and invest here? Although they are coming here, you provide a better environment than other countries of the world. But these complaints, these feedback we are getting from people on the ground who are investing and making companies here.
Well, look, I think there's always potentially some way we can reduce the red tape if it's truly unnecessary. And we've taken some of those steps at the federal level. A lot of those regulations are at the state level, which obviously we do not have direct control over. But I want to make the point, especially after what we've seen recently with Silicon Valley Bank and some of the disruptions in the financial sector. A lot of these regulations are important. And part of the reason why the United States is an attractive place to invest is because people have a lot of faith that people aren't being scammed, that people are following the rules, that they are disclosing key aspects of how their company is going to operate, that anybody who's a potential investor can come look at what a company is trying to do and have faith in the disclosures that are being made, and so on. So it's always a balance. You always want to make sure that every requirement, every regulation you put in place is necessary. But it's also not good for business to be unregulated. And that scares away a lot of people who would otherwise be interested in putting their money behind an idea.
Only this week, a lot of Indian companies have also been investing in the US. This week, India's ambassador, and that was under Select USA, launched a new company from India, Granules Pharmaceuticals. They have invested $100 million in Virginia, creating a lot of jobs. What would be your message to the Indian companies to increase their foothold in the US, and why this is going to benefit them?
I think it's a great time to invest in the United States. We are offering now a very hospitable environment for investing, especially if you're investing in the areas that I mentioned: clean energy production, semiconductors, and related industries, and anything related to infrastructure. We're looking to build up the American manufacturing capacity in those key areas. And so if you're abroad and have skills or an idea that fits into that set of issues, I think it's worth looking at the United States. And as I said before, it's not just the incentives that have been put into our tax code and otherwise. It's the quality of workers here in the United States. It's the kind of legal system that we have. It's the access to the capital markets, thanks to our good securities laws and the Securities and Exchange Commission. There's a lot that should be appealing about investing here. And again, you're seeing that with over $400 billion worth of private investment in the United States over the last 2 years.
One last question, if I may, about the Boeing deal, which the Air India had, and the president said that it will create 1 million jobs in the US. In that context, can you give us some sense of the significance of that deal and also the economic relationship in the two largest democratic countries of the world?
It's a very close relationship, I think, as seen by the Boeing deal that you mentioned. As the president has said, creates a massive number of jobs, not just directly at Boeing, but the most important part in many ways is that all of the different parts that go into the airplane, a lot of those are manufactured across America, and then all of the small businesses who contribute to helping those companies along the supply chain, all of them benefit from this kind of manufacturing deal. And largely that's why the president has been so focused on manufacturing, because not only is it important for our national security, for us to make more things here, but manufacturing jobs tend to be high quality, high paying jobs. And they produce additional supporting jobs further down the supply chain, or for small businesses that are located around where new manufacturing capacity would be. So that's the kind of economy that the president is looking to build. He's talked a lot about wanting to grow the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, rather than from the top down, which we have seen, unfortunately, be the prevailing economic philosophy, particularly among the Republican Party, for the last 20 or 30 years. We have a very different vision. And what we have seen so far is it's good for business, it's good for American consumers, it's good for American families, and we're going to keep at it.